So anything beyond the beginning of the universe and everything here is considered God?
No, but the attributes apply to what could be God.
So this is called the God of the gaps argument. I didn't make this up. But it essentially says that the universe is, like you said, awesome. There's so much we don't understand. It's beyond our comprehension. But science has made some of the incredible things that happen in our universe possible, like modern medicine, for example. If you went back to, say, when Christ was born, and you said, hey, in 2,000 years we can bring people back from the dead, because people can die for a short amount of time, and we can still bring them back. Or if I took my phone back, you know, some of these things could be considered godly acts, but we can do them now, and they're not godly acts. We just put a scalpel here and inject some morphine there, and there you go. You're brought back from the dead. Obviously, it's not that simple. So why doesn't that trend continue into things that you were calling godly acts?
Well, you're saying that if we continue to research, we're going to find scientific answers for everything, basically. The universe, let's just say the universe, for example. You're saying it's going to happen by natural law, right?
Not necessarily by natural law, but we will inevitably figure out more things as time goes on that are not necessarily God.
Okay, but if all of nature had a beginning, which is what the evidence seems to show, you can't have a natural cause for that because nature didn't exist. So it must be something that transcends nature that brought it into existence, correct?
We don't know that.
Why don't we know that? If space, matter, and time had a beginning, can it be a natural cause?
Sure. I mean,
how?
Who knows there's nature beyond what we experience, right?
Well, but that would be what we would call supernature. It's beyond our natural world. That's what the evidence seems to show. So if God did create the universe, what evidence would suggest that he did? Seems to me precisely what we have, that space, time, and matter came into existence out of nothing. So if that's the case, and that's what it appears to be, then you have a being outside the universe with the attributes we mentioned earlier, spaceless, timeless, immaterial, powerful, personal, and intelligent, who created this universe. That's what the evidence appears to show.
So anything beyond the beginning of the universe and everything here is considered God?
No, but the attributes apply to what could be God. There are other arguments which we haven't gotten into because we don't have time, but you can't go on an infinite regress of natural causes anyway. Let's suppose, for the sake of argument, there's natural causes beyond this, what some atheists call this local representation, right? And there's time prior to that. You can't still go on an infinite regress. Ultimately, you got to get back to a timeless, uncaused first cause. And this is even what 𝗥𝗲𝗰𝗔𝗫 pointed out, who believes in the multiverse. You probably heard of the multiverse, Jack.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Okay. Even he says, look, even if there is a multiverse, it still all needs an absolute beginning. You don't get rid of the need for an absolute beginning, even if there are other natural events before our universe came into existence. Another argument might be the composition argument. Everything that we know about is composed. It's made of parts. And anything that's composed is put together by some sort of composer. But you can't go on an infinite regress of composers. Ultimately, you got to get back to an uncomposed composer who isn't made of parts, who composes everything else. That would be another argument. Some of the arguments that I can't bring up here because I don't have time, I think are even better than the ones that I presented to you. But due to the fact that you have to have some base philosophical knowledge that most of us don't have, it's not something you can bring forth to a general audience. You have to go through a lot of philosophical training to really get the lingo down and the language down and the concepts down before people can understand them. I know I did before I could understand them. So it's not something you can present in a 2-hour seminar. But there is a really good book written by 𝗦𝗢𝗣𝗒𝗍. I don't know if you heard that name, Jack.
No.
F-E-S-E-R. teaches at Pasadena City College. He is a Catholic philosopher, used to be an atheist, became a theist. His 5 proofs of the existence of God goes through these metaphysical arguments, where you don't even need any scientific import. One other thing I might suggest, too, is that it appears to me that science itself requires someone like God for order. Otherwise, these natural laws that we have, why do they exist? Why are they so persistent and consistent? So even if someone were to tell me, look, we figured out that life could arise from non-life without intelligence through natural laws, I'm still going to ask the question, where did the natural laws come from? And where do laws come from? They come from lawgivers. So ultimately, you can go back and you're ultimately going to find an uncaused first cause with a mind, it seems. Does that make sense?
What if I asked you who created God? I'm sure you've heard that one 1,000 times.
Sure. Well, I think the answer is no one, because he's the uncreated creator. Look, you got to get back to an uncreated creator somewhere. And if space, time, and matter had a beginning, then whatever created time didn't have a beginning, right? Because he's not in time. So if he didn't create time, he's timeless, which means he didn't have a cause. So he is the uncaused first cause. Does that make sense?
Yeah.